Hi there, and welcome to Mike and Peter talking about mental health in the legal profession. We pick up topics that are either hot off the press or something that we've been talking about between ourselves for a while. And recently, some new research came out. It was, not the biggest piece of research ever, 1,000 American employees, but it tells a story that I think actually is pretty much reflective of everywhere that I know of. So let me just look away and say, well, workers are lying about the state of their mental health. So we've just come through 2 years of lockdowns and working from home and everything thrown into the air and being told time and again that the next pandemic is going to be mental poor health pandemic. Mm. So we talk about it more, but has anything actually changed?
Yeah, I mean, this article, which it was in Fast Company, and I shared it with you, and I shared it around a little bit of a reality check for me, because I think, I've been doing a lot of speaking about mental health and wellness in the legal field, in the world in general, and it feels like there's a conversation that's happening that wasn't quite happening before, and it feels like one of the areas we're making progress in, and I think we are. Is destigmatizing, making it more okay to talk about these issues, at least, right? That's just the beginning. Being okay to talk about these issues. And it was interesting to read this article and find that people are still really reluctant to talk about mental health, really reluctant to say, hey, I need a mental health day, or hey, I'm experiencing depression or anxiety. And, some of that I understand is sort of probably personal preference. And, I don't have to disclose, my medical information to everyone under the sun. So I understand people making choices about that. But on the flip side, with physical health, a lot of times we're fine saying, hey, I'm sick and I have a sick day. We're not okay doing the same thing sort of mentally. And so it seems like there's a difference. And it seems like maybe we haven't or aren't making as much progress as we'd like to think that we are.
I think we're still pretty much where we were a couple of years ago. We have moved forward, but there's still this idea that if you own up to stress, anxiety, or depression, or burnout, feeling mentally, emotionally under the weather, you will be seen as a weak person. And we've been drilled into having to be a strong person. I also think that we do take our mental health and well-being for granted, that we just take on more and more and more and expect us to be able to just deal with things. But then in the workplace, there's a culture of being strong and being reliable and being accountable. And if you take a day off, or a couple of hours off to see your psychologist or your therapist, rumors start running around the offices. Oh, is he or she stable? Can we still trust him or her with sensitive information? Or how long is this going to go on for? It's the stuff that you can't see. And when you can't see it, it becomes a bit of a mystery. Someone with a bad neck or shoulder or whatever, you can kind of see the person being a bit stiff. You go to the physiotherapist and everything gets better. And we understand that. We understand that we need to go to the dentist, but we don't want to say, hey, boss, I need a bit of time off today because I'm going to see my therapist.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I hear where you're going, and I think that's true. But I also would be cautious to treat workplace culture as this monolithic thing, because I think every workplace defines their own culture, and I do think that we as people define cultures and leaders define cultures. I think it's definitely true, and I think the statistics in this article bear it out, that people are generally okay saying, I have a back problem, and every Monday from 1 to 2, I have physical therapy for my back, and nobody bats an eye. but that you wouldn't do the same to have your weekly therapy appointment. Most people wouldn't. And if you did have your weekly therapy appointment, you might say, as this article mentioned, it's my back and I have a back thing, and then go see your therapist. But I do see some rays of sunshine and hope. I have a partner who's very open about doing weekly therapy. I do biweekly therapy now, but he puts it on his calendar and says, at that time, that's what I do, and he'll tell it to young people, and I think that has a real amazing effect on culture because it normalizes it.
And I
But
think,
I think we need a lot more of that. But I mean, that's just one example.
but those examples we didn't have before.
That's true.
And I think there are more and more companies, and I think mostly the younger ones, the smaller ones, where the culture is recently established, where it's more okay to accept the person as the whole person and not just the performance part of it, where we do accept that, yes, we come up against a brick wall sometimes, and we need help to break it down. And those companies where you have that culture, in my experience, and from what I hear from the people who benefit from that, is that that's a great place to work. It's a strong company. It has a healthy bottom line. So poor mental health in business is absolutely bad for business.
Yeah, it's unquestionable to me. It's very simple when I think about it, right? Like as lawyers, or as kind of whatever business you do, you're the thing you're competing on is your brain, right? And so if you're taking better care of your brain, you're probably doing a better job. And I think there's lots of data and statistics, to back that up. But I think, it's still true. I think about it as a generational thing in some sense. And, you mentioned kind of young companies that are defining their culture or are forward looking enough to redefine their culture and have leadership that'll do that. But, it makes me think of when I was up visiting my son in college, and we took him and 3 of his friends out to dinner, and they all had to get back for their therapy/coaching appointments. And they were all talking about it like it was a totally normal thing.
Yeah.
And I think part of that was me talking about it with my son like it was a totally normal thing. And I think the more people that talk about it as a normal thing, the better. Because the flip side, it's interesting, that whole weakness strength thing. I think when I first started writing about mental health for the Goodman Project, we used this hashtag not weak, just human. And I like the hashtag, and I've done a lot of writing using that hashtag, but it's still a huge mountain to overcome, that feeling of weakness. And I think it's especially hard for younger folks. It's like, when you're in a new place and you're trying to just be a good worker and define yourself, you don't know your boss, you're just trying to do the best job. It's really hard to speak out. And, but at the same time, that generation is the one that seems to be leading this. So it's interesting.
And you and I were also that generation once, and we also struggled. I could certainly have needed not necessarily therapy, but just someone to guide me, a mentor of some sort. But we do have a habit of throwing each other into the deep end. And if you sink, tough. If you swim, great. But it does take a toll on the psychological side of the person if there isn't that person you can go to. And
it's very hard. I'm sorry to interrupt. You reminded me just of myself, because there is a point, like, you are afraid when you say, hey, I'm going through something really tough or really acute, or I need some help, or I need some time off, that it makes you unreliable. And that it marks you as unreliable, and that makes it very difficult to speak out. And that's why I totally understand the statistics of this article, why many people are like, well, I'm just not going to share that because it's too risky. But the more people in leadership positions that do, I think the better off we are.
Absolutely. And I see it from the other way around, where my most popular appointment slot is 6 p.m. People can go and see me after work. Then it's safe. Then nobody knows.
Right.
And that's one reason why I have the 6 p.m. slot, not because I necessarily want to work into the evening, but I can catch those people who feel that they do not have any other choice. So I think we have we've moved on and we're still moving on. And only if people like you and I have these conversations between us and that we broadcast it to the wider world, the benefits of talking to another person, call it therapy, call it counseling. I don't care what you call it. We need support in so many ways. I don't know how to fix my car. That's why we have mechanics. I don't know how to do the plumbing. That's why we have a plumber. You go to the gym and you have a personal trainer. Why not have a personal trainer for your mental health?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think a lot of times,
Part of you.
and when I talk about it with my kids, like sometimes you just need help processing something, right? You have this difficult thing, and I can sit by myself and spin my wheels, or I can get some help processing it. And I think, I actually want, I want to reflect as a leader. You know, like you said, you and I and many others of our generation all experience that. And the question I think we have to ask ourselves is, do we want another generation to just do the same, or can we do it better? Like if I have a young person, would I rather that person go to therapy, get the help, feel okay about it, feel like they can tell me, and then come back and do great work? Or do I want that person to burn out and leave and be miserable? I want the former. And so I think if we all sort of are honest about our own experiences, I think we can get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I look at my client list, I have clients from the youngest at the moment is early 20s, but they go up to mid 60s, late 60s. Sure. So it cuts across all ages, all walks of life. We just need to accept that asking for help is a sign of strength.
Yeah, and this, I want to continue talking with you, and I'm glad we're having these conversations, and I'm glad to hear comments from people that are watching and engaging in this conversation with us. And articles like this is also just a good reality check to keep it going and take the temperature and see where we're at.
Absolutely. So let us hear your comments out there, those of you watching this conversation. What is your experience of mental health in the workspace, and in particular in the legal profession? Let us have your thoughts. You've heard ours, and there's still a lot more work to be done. Take care. See you later. Bye now.
Bye-bye.